Hey folks, it's Gary here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's story, OP found out his wife cheated on him after he came home and noticed what happened to be a shadow hiding behind his bed. At that moment, he knew it was his wife's affair partner. Then even crazier news developed that OP's wife got pregnant by the affair partner. Now her life will be a complete wreck after OP reached out to his lawyer and is planning on annulling their marriage, meaning she will get absolutely nothing from him. In today's second story, OP found out his girlfriend cheated on him because she claims her family didn't approve of him. Now, let's get into today's stories. I met my wife 4 years ago and got blindsided by her blatant and unapologetic infidelity. Just like every relationship, we had highs and lows, but I never imagined that the lows were that low. We got married 2 years ago and things were blissful. We both worked in the same work industry, but at separate companies. I was a manager and she was just coming up, and it would not be acceptable to work together as per company rules. Because we worked at separate companies and were nearly an hour away, I never believed cheating would occur because things had been so good at home. I could be working for 12 hours and come home to dinner, sex, and all the things anyone would love to come home to after a long day. Not to say I didn't do the same, because I always did. One of the things I loved to do was to bring her her favorite flowers every week on my ride home. She gushed every time I came through the door with them, and more so when they opened up to display their full color. Nearly a year into the relationship, we began to argue, but it was nothing more than simple misunderstandings. Although I was concerned, I also attributed it to some of our money issues. She hadn't been making as much, and although I was the primary breadwinner, what I made didn't always afford us the luxuries we had loved to engage in months prior. I always told her things would get better, and they certainly did. I got a raise, and so did she. However, the arguments didn't subside the way I had imagined they would. Fast forward to March 2020, and the pandemic put us both on our backs financially. I qualified for assistance and promptly took it to make sure we'd have the essentials. She, however, did not qualify and was understandably upset about it, and when some other companies outside of our industry were hiring, she went for it and got a job. I, at the time, was collecting close to what I was making pre-pandemic weekly, and we discussed it would not be advisable to go and look for a job that would essentially put me backward career-wise. This meant I would stay home and help out while she worked, and with both incomes, we'd be just fine. Prior to her getting the job and during, I supported her by making sure she had her paperwork filled out. I got up early and helped her get her lunch. I sometimes showed up to her job to take her out to lunch and took care of most of the other duties around the house she wouldn't always have time for. Little did I know that her sudden happiness had nothing to do with just finding a job and getting back to a much more stable financial status. From what trickled truths she gave me, the affair started almost as soon as she got the job in May and continued until I went back to work in August, leaving the home unattended. In November, I became aware of the affair when I came home one day to grab something I forgot and found the door chained when I got home. When she finally came to the door, I found a bath drawn with candles lit and her wrapped in a towel. The chain door was very unusual and sent me into high suspicion because we lived in a secured building that needed a key fob or a code to enter. I began to look around and noticed a shadow behind the bed showing on a nearby mirror. I yelled out for him to stand up and face me, and for the first time, I realized the guy that was cheating with my wife was someone I had met when I picked her up from work so many times. My wife formally introduced me to him, and at that very moment, I felt sick to my stomach. He promptly left, and I just sat there feeling stupid. I asked why, and her response was to get angry at me for finding out, and when pressed further, told me she felt a connection. From there, I knew I needed to get out and mistakenly never had an exit strategy. Due to COVID, my funds were severely depleted, and moving out was not an option yet. So I had to brave it for the next 2 months before I would be able to move. It was by far the most numbing time frame I have ever dealt with. We slept in separate parts of the home and carried on like roommates. I wanted to be civil, not for her, but for my own peace of mind. That, however, was not to be, as I found out she had become pregnant as a result of the cheating, and I only tore the wound back open, and I really began to feel like things couldn't get any worse. She also continued to flaunt the relationship in front of me and made going to work agonizing, knowing what was likely going on when I was not home. What's even worse is when I moved out, she refused to pay the rent, and I kept getting notices about it from the management company. In January, I moved out and started to save money for a lawyer and sought therapy. I should note that she never believed I'd file, and I made sure not to let on that I would. It bought me plenty of time to consult a lawyer who went over all the details and originally wanted me to file for divorce, but later decided that an annulment would be better. The lawyer also drafted letters to ensure I would not be on the hook for the lease and paperwork with the IRS to have our tax debts split. We filed at the end of May, 1 year after when I believe the affair began. Since then, it's come to light that she may have been involved with more than one affair partner, and when I say more than one, I mean 3+ suspected. As of 1 week ago, we had her served at work because it had also come to my attention that she had moved out of the apartment and surrendered the keys. I got an email from the management company. Now I wait as she has 35 days to respond before it goes into default and the decree is issued. I will update later as more news comes to light. Thanks for reading. Update. So it's been just over 3 months since my soon-to-be ex had been served back at the end of June. Her lack of response to being served only let me know she either didn't care or wanted it to be over, just as I had. As I sit here typing, I was informed that she retained counsel and intends to fight the annulment. I was pretty shocked to find out after calling the courthouse that she had filed for this extension at some point at the end of August, which would have been nearly 4 weeks after the deadline given. My mind is in a whirlwind because I can't believe for a second that she actually wants to reconcile with me. At this point, because of the fact that she did give birth to the affair partner's child at the end of July, she may be looking for someone to raise her affair baby and not for a genuine connection with me. I really don't know for sure because I don't read minds, but the feeling that she may try to sue me for paternity enters my mind, and I won't lie and say I'm not worried about it. After months of therapy, I come to understand more than before how mentally abusive my marriage was, and I have no doubt that if she is the same person, she's tried almost anything to try and hold me hostage. The day she and her counsel speak with the judge is this Friday, and words of encouragement and advice would be greatly appreciated on how to deal with this news. Wow, OP, here are my thoughts on the situation. If you have evidence and it will not cause problems with the divorce or annulment proceeding, then get it out there because she will lie. Also contact her HR with the evidence when it's safe to do so. You might even be able to get evidence from the coworker if you let him know you're going to name him when you go to HR. Let him know that it'll be proven that he is the child's father. But if he helps, you can leave him out of it, or if he helps you enough, you can drop going to HR entirely. Yeah, it's dishonest and underhanded, but you owe this guy nothing. Get what you want and nuke the remains. There are 2 things you know for certain. 1, he will sell out your wife. And 2, this will end their affair and any other office affairs. And let her family know that you are one of at least 4 other men that could be the father of her child. I wish you the best, OP, and hope your situation is able to work out. Now, let's get into today's second story. First-time poster here, so bear with me. I met my dream girl during the pandemic in 2020 by complete chance. It couldn't have gone better. We chatted all the time and got on perfectly and spent a few beautiful weeks together. I couldn't have asked for more. For me, it was the first person I had been involved with for a good few years. More on this later. So I became quickly invested in her, and she did with me too. During this time, we grew very close and started to have deeper conversations. I found out she actually had a boyfriend when we started talking, but she quickly ended that as things had fizzled out between them. I should have taken this as a sign. Anyway, by the end of a few weeks, I returned to the university to finish off my degree, and so did she. However, we were both well over 6 hours from each other. We agreed to stay in regular communication and would talk every day in order to see how we would go. We spoke every minute of every day as much as we could, growing closer and closer despite the distance. I made the journey down one time and we had the most lovely weekend. It couldn't have been better. However, I have a quirk or two in my past that I feel I should inform someone of if I ever get close. Better to be honest and upfront in all that. I have a one-time incident criminal record on a night out that I'm not proud of and got myself into a hole about. I did some major soul searching at that time and realized my life was on a downward spiral and I needed to sort it out. Long story short, I went from being at a dead end to studying online, gaining access to the university, and am now halfway through my master's, so I've made some progress. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Basically said, the girl's parents did not like that I had a past like that, even though I was about to graduate and progress onto the next level. After that, things started to become a bit distant. We still spoke each day, and she convinced me she was going to talk to her parents about it when she flew back to Canada for Christmas. Yes, she's Canadian. If only I had known this was a load of rubbish. I eventually called things off in January 2021, as chasing a girl for that long really starts to ruin your mental health. In my own words at the time, I'm 1% of the guy I used to be when we first met. So we went our separate ways. Fast forward to April 2021, I get a message from her asking me how I'm doing and that she missed me, etc. Me being the soppy guy I am, obviously went along with it. She had actually moved back to Canada in January that year to finish her master's degree, so at this point she was still there. We chatted through all of the summer, did video calls every day, and texted each day, saying all sorts of lovely things to each other. She was reeling me back in very well and suggested multiple times she was moving back to the UK for me and her to start a relationship properly. Obviously, this had me hooked. I thought things were going to start looking up. I was very excited. Things were strange sometimes over the course of the summer, but I put it down to her being a bit stressed as her family was giving her grief for moving back to the UK, and she had a lot on her plate with it. I feel so stupid for ignoring my gut about the whole thing. She got back here in July, and from that month till November, it was absolutely perfect. We were great together, and it worked so well. But then Discovery Day happened on November 6th, 2021. I had forgotten my laptop to do schoolwork, so she let me use hers while she was at work. I saw some things that looked funky, to say the least. Emails with her ex's name, pictures from old holidays, and folders with pictures on the laptop just on the screen, plain to see. I did some digging and found some restaurant reservations from the first time we were talking, then some emails regarding academic journals. They were both on the same course and living in the same city. I asked her about it, and she said they were on placement together, and that was it. Then I pressed more and more. She said they went to dinner a couple of times. Then I pressed more. She went to his house over a couple of months to watch sports with him and his friends. Then I pressed some more, and she said he was walking her home from placement and she was inviting him inside. She slept with him on multiple occasions while talking to me. All of this info came out over a month and a bit. More information came too. She said she stayed at a cottage with her sister and mom when she was back home for a weekend. She saw him again with her family 2 weeks before she saw me again, had sex with him in the back of his car, and in her words said to make sure she didn't still have feelings for him before she saw me again. Honestly, since that day my head hasn't been right. I've been trying to struggle my way through it because she is convinced she made a terrible mistake because she knows I would be the best thing for her in every way. She basically feeds me all this stuff. Her reason for doing it? She didn't have approval from her family about me and thought I was too good for her, and she has low self-esteem, so she tends to self-destruct. She wants to reconcile and is apparently madly in love with me and is now in severe depression because of what she has done to me. Her friend says she's never seen her like this over a guy before. Her parents and sister loved me when they met me, so they're very disappointed in her that she's done this to me. They didn't know in what capacity we were talking. She hid it. Everyone is hugely disgusted by what she's done and how she's played me for over a year. What do I do about this? I honestly don't think I could ever trust her again, not properly. If I could, it'd take years of hard work, and we don't live super close to each other at the moment. Half of me feels like I should consider trying to reconcile because maybe she did just make stupid choices. I don't believe anything is really ever a mistake, though, and perhaps under all of that exterior, there's a good person. The other half of me feels like I should just cut my losses, chalk it up on the scoreboard as experience, and move on. I'm at a pivotal time in my life, doing the best I've ever done academically and personally. I'm well on my way to graduating from my master's with a potential PhD on the cards. I never once pictured myself doing anything like this. The only thing making me think twice is that I do want a family, wife and kids and all that, eventually. I just don't know if I'd be missing out on an opportunity to help someone be better and maybe do well from it myself. OP, after reading your story, here are my thoughts on the situation. So she cheated on you numerous times while you were long distance, then lied about it, trickle-truthed, gaslit you about the reason, and now you're long distance again and are wondering what the future holds? She is going to cheat again. She likes the option of having you around but isn't loyal, honest, or respectful of your commitment. That's not a good choice for a partner in a same-city relationship. I'm not sure why you would waste your time with this. Stop with the long-distance nonsense. Just ghost her. No explanation needed. You don't owe her anything. Every second you invest in her is a complete waste of your time. Focus on your education. You will have plenty of time to find another woman that will be loyal and treat you right. Good luck, OP. Thanks for taking the time to listen to today's stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and comment below on what your thoughts are on today's stories. If there's a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. Take care, everyone.